Hello CS112, today I'm going through a quick solution of Lab 2, which had to do with the rabbit's revenge on the race with the turtle. So the gist of this assignment was that Mr. Raccoon was recording the times of the racers, and he wants you to calculate how long it took each, he recorded the velocity of each racer, and he wants you to figure out how long it took them to complete the race. As of right now, we know for a fact that each race is going to be 7 yards per minute, and that the rabbit will stop at exactly 6 trees during this race for a 1-minute power nap. The raccoon will give us yards per minute as input, and we need to find the total time that each runner took. Lastly, once we calculate this using a formula that was given to us, we're going to convert it to a more readable time for minutes and seconds. So I always like to create a code skeleton so I can follow a nice algorithm. And the first thing we're going to do, obviously, is ask the raccoon for inputs. After that, we're going to want to assign the inputs to a racer. What do I mean by this? Well, when we ask the raccoon for the input, he actually doesn't remember who was who. So we need to determine which of the two inputs we get is greater than the other and assign the faster YPM, which is yards per minute, to the rabbit, because the rabbit will always have a faster velocity than a turtle. This is the defining factor on whether he wins the race or not. So once we assign the input to a racer, let's go ahead and calculate the total time per racer. And we were given a formula that said velocity equals distance over, if I can type, time. And we have both velocity and distance, so we need to solve for time. So if we just move this around a little bit by multiplying each side by 1 over distance, you would get a formula where it's velocity divided by distance, if I can type, equals time, which is what we want to solve for. So after we calculate that, we want to convert it to proper, convert to proper, I'm just gonna say convert to this, because I cannot think of a word right now, which is where we're gonna want to take the number we got up here and make it more readable in a minute second format, and then lastly we're just going to display the formats, or display output. So let's just dive right into it. The first thing we're going to do is ask the raccoon for inputs. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to obviously just like racer 1, racer 2, and ask for the inputs. Although I am going to convert the input to a float because I know I'm going to be doing work down here with it, and it could be a decimal number, so I'm going to wrap input in float because by default it is a string. So float input, how fast was racer 1? I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it below. I'm going to say, call this racer 2, and how fast was racer 2? I'm going to add a little padding here so it's a little cleaner in my terminal when I'm typing and asking questions. Lastly, next I'm going to assign each YPM to a turtle or rabbit. So I'm going to say rabbit speed equals the max of the two, racer 1 and racer 2. What the max function does is it will take a variable amount of arguments and then return the max value, assuming they're all similar data types. So I'm going to now find the turtle speed. So turtle speed equals the min of the two, of racer 1 and racer 2. All right. So I keep saying lastly, but it's not lastly yet. Calculate the total time per racer using this formula here, and we have both velocity and distance. So I'm going to say first calculate the rabbit time. Rabbit time equals velocity divided by distance. The velocity is going to be rabbit speed divided by 7. We know it's going to be a 7-yard race every time. And since this is the rabbit, he's going to stop at 6 trees for a minute per tree. I'm going to just add an additional 6 minutes to his race time. For the turtle time, it's going to be just the simple formula above. So turtle's speed divided by 7. Now that we have both speeds, we need to figure out how to convert these to this. Well, I'm just going to quickly add some comments about how theoretically you need to do this. So a lot of you guys knew that you needed to isolate the 10 and then the 0.5 and somehow make that 0.5 a 30. Well, the way you can do that is, let's say x equals 10.5. If you first isolated the, let's call it minutes, you can just say mins equals int x. This will assign this will assign min to just be the 10. Now to isolate that 0.5, we just need to say sec equals x minus the int of x. So this will essentially be 10.5 minus 10, which yields 0.5. But after we do that, that 0.5 isn't how many seconds it was. To convert that time to seconds, all we need to do is multiply it by 60. So that is going to give us that 30. So now I'm going to replicate this for both the rabbit and the turtle time. So let's first get the rabbit out of the way. So let's say rabbit min is going to equal the int version of rabbit's time. And then the rabbit's sec is going to equal, first is going to be the rabbit's time minus the int of rabbit's time. So like that 10.5 minus 10, and then we're going to multiply all that by 60. That's going to be a very similar process for the turtle. For turtle time, or sorry, turtle min equals the int of turtle time. And then we are going to have turtle sec equals the turtle time minus the int of turtle time. And then multiply that by 60 so we can have that actual number there. So now that we have everything there, all we need to do is display the output. So I'm going to print out here, whoopsie daisy, no idea what happened there. The turtle ran the race in, and then I'm going to include the variables I have here. I am first going to show, I'm just going to first show the way most of you guys are doing it, and ran into a little error, but we'll solve that one thing together. So I'm going to say turtle min, comma, and then he wanted the single quotes first, so I can put a single quote within double quotes, and that should be fine. And then turtle seconds, comma, and then to put a double quote within double quotes, you need an escape character, which is the backslash, and then the double quote, the backslash won't actually show up. It just tells the print statement that you want the character following it to display as is in your terminal. I'm just going to run this bad boy real quick with python cat.py. How fast is racer 1? Now, we weren't given test cases, but an easy one would be if both of them were, both of their YPMs were 7, that means the turtle would run 7 yards in exactly 1 minute, and the rabbit would run 7 yards in exactly 7 minutes, because he would technically run the race in 1 minute, but he'll stop 6 times for a stop, which, 6 plus 1 is 7. So if we make both the racers 7 YPM, the turtle ran the race in 1 minute and 0.0 seconds. So a couple things here is, one, we don't want this to be a float. I forgot to deal with that up here. So I'm actually I'm going to deal with it up here, and I'm going to wrap these guys in a float, or it should say ints. So I'm going to change that to ints to get rid of that 0.0 because we don't want that. I'm going to put that in parentheses. And no idea how that got down here. And then I'm going to make this an int. Let's just retest that real quick just to make sure we have 0. We do now. So yeah, it took the turtle 1 minute since he's traveling 7 yards per minute and runs 7 yards. He traveled 7 yards in 1 minute. So the issue here is that we have spaces between things. So in a print statement, commas implicitly pad on a space. So we need to use string concatenation to squish them together, which is simply just using a plus instead of a comma. I'm just going to convert all the things I want squished together as a plus. I put know if I typed anything. All right. And then lastly, right now we're trying to convert a number such as 5 plus a letter, which doesn't make sense. So we need to wrap each of these in the string. You convert each of these to a string to concatenate them, because concatenation only is with 2 strings. You can't add a letter and a number. I'm going to save that and run it again. Both of them running 7 YPM, and now we have our expected output. So I'm just going to copy and paste this for the Mr. Rabbit, and it should show us 7 minutes and 0 seconds. So let's just say the rabbit ran the race in Rabbitsmin, and Rabbit second is going to save that and run it here, 7 and 7, and we got the expected output. If any of this was confusing to you, ask questions ASAP, because this is very relevant to the project that is due, I think, in a few days. So I hope you enjoyed the video.